Hello and welcome to the 19th Annual Green Living Festival, coming from the Missouri Botanical Garden and the Garden's Earthways Center. I'm Jean Ponzi, Green Resources Manager on the Earthways team. The Green Living Festival is presented by Ameren, Missouri, energizing our efforts to connect you to local businesses and organizations that offer sustainable solutions we hope you will consider and use in every aspect of your everyday life. The festival dates are Saturday, June 6th, Tuesday, June 9th, and Thursday, June 11th. We have live events on each one of those dates, and every single resource in the wealth of them is being archived for viewing at your convenience at mobot.org/greenlivingfest. My guest in this segment is Richard Reilly. He is one of my colleagues at the Earthways Center. He is our energy programs manager. And normally at a Green Living Festival, you'd see Richard in front of the wall, the model of a part of a house where all the energy is used, talking about home performance with Energy Star. So this time, we'll do it on a screen.
Right.
Hello, Mr. Reilly.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Always a pleasure to speak with you. So energy has always opened the door to talking about green stuff and the kind of work we do, because you can save some money on energy, but that's not the only reason why we should be thinking about it and working with it, right?
That is correct. I think when we save money on energy, we have a byproduct of reducing our carbon footprints and having a positive impact on the environment in general. And when energy efficiency at home is done correctly, it has a positive impact on indoor environmental quality and therefore occasionally some health outcomes.
And I think you helped to prepare a whole workshop for June 9th, Energy Day, about indoor environmental quality and healthy homes, yes?
That's true. One of the workshops will be by my new friend and colleague, Kevin Kennedy of Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, who's a nationally recognized expert on healthy homes.
So when we talk about healthy homes, it's not just the home you own. This is awareness. This is stuff people could use if they're a renter, if they're a roommate, really anywhere we live, yeah?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It applies to specifically any residential environment, but the theories are good for any place we call time, call time and home for any portion of the day.
And in another festival, I might be talking to you about the St. Louis Sunflower Project, but today, Richard, I get the sunflower, and I'm so glad.
How very nice for you.
You got the sunset. That's good. You have some slides, I think, to share with us?
Yes, just a few about home performance with Energy Star.
Let's get them up. Richard Reilly, you have a lot of letters after your name there, and I have a hunch that all of those really spell out kind of a recipe for comfort and health and saving money and protecting the planet and all of that. But home performance, why do you focus on that term, home performance?
Well, I think when we're able to take a holistic view of how a home functions, how a home performs, we're able to maximize any efforts we put into our home improvements that are based on energy efficiency, comfort, and health issues around the house. So as a sponsor of the Home Performance with Energy Star program, the Earthways Center and my role in managing the program within the Earthways Center is an important part of sharing best practices for making these kinds of green home improvements happen in a responsible, safe, and effective manner.
So you do, I know you conduct trainings and you have meetings with contractors, and you're really constantly networking with people in your field who are making this kind of stuff happen as professionals.
Absolutely. There's a big part of my work is providing continuing education, training, proctoring, um, all sorts of folks who are in the applied science professions. And this has to do with energy auditors, insulation contractors, as well as heating and cooling contractors.
So how does a person get started with an energy efficiency project?
Well, I think that it's not as hard as you might think. On our website at the Earthway Center, Missouri Botanical Garden website, there's a list of certified by the Building Performance Institute home energy auditors who are ready to answer your call. I usually suggest talking to 2 or 3 of them and deciding who you might want to do business with.
Mhm.
And when that sort of thing gets going and we're ready to start a project, we want to understand how the home is doing today, how it's performing today. And this can be done by a review of your utility bills. And I encourage folks to look up utility bill analysis online, and you'll find it's not too difficult to take care of that part of the process for yourself. All the information you can get from your utility bills and a little bit of basic math, and you can have a real good understanding of what's called your base load and your seasonal loads. If you'll see in the chart at the bottom, heating and cooling is usually somewhere in the 40% range of our total utility expenses. So this gives you a little benchmark of figuring out, am I more than this or less than this? And it's part of understanding the way the home is working today. In an energy audit situation, this will include a site walk around. We're looking for things outdoors that can negatively impact indoor environmental quality and energy efficiency performance.
So
So we're looking,
what might be an example of that, of an outdoor factor that impacts indoor quality and performance?
well, we want to make sure there's no situations in which we need to be looking for leaks in the roof or other parts of the house. And we want to make sure we have positive drainage away from the house. So we're controlling a source of a major contaminant, which can be water that's unwanted and can damage materials and provide um, impetus for microbial growth. So that sort of starts it out. An interview with the homeowner and the auditor, an interior inspection that includes appliances, windows, HVAC equipment, status of the insulation as best can be determined in attic, walls, and basement. For sure, going across and around and through the utility bills once again, and discussing any comfort issues that might be of particular concern to the homeowner, to the home resident.
Mhm.
And then we pretty typically will set up the house in conditions in order to run what's called a blower door test. So a blower door is a big fan in a red canvas shroud in an aluminum frame that's placed in an exterior door of the house, and it measures airflow and pressure differential. So basically what we're doing is turning on this fan and we're blowing air out of the house. Well, of course, this requires air to be coming into the house to make up for that lost air, and it's coming in through all the leaky spots.
Mhm.
So while the blower door is running, the energy auditor and the client, if so inclined, can walk around the house and literally find by using artificial smoke, an IR camera, or other technical devices to help us simply see, here's where it's leaking. Now, often it's as simple as putting your hand up against a window or next to an exterior light switch or a can light or a bath fan to see that all kinds of air is being sucked through your house and out. through places that you ordinarily wouldn't want it to. So one of the best principles of home performance with Energy Star is to fix the leaks and improve the insulation and manage the ventilation before going on to heating and cooling changes, to solar panels and other things, which are important and good, but when properly sequenced, will fix the building envelope first, make sure we don't have a leaky house, make sure that we have a tight building with proper ventilation and that's well insulated. Because when we do these things, what will happen when we apply this kind of whole house thinking and then let our HVAC design and sizing concerns come into play, we'll find that we no longer need as large a furnace or as large an air conditioner when we put this step after these other improvements, because we will have reduced our loads. We will have reduced the demand for heating and cooling. So one of the ways this process helps save money is that your investments in tightening the envelope and improving the insulation will save you money on that replacement furnace. You can get one that's more efficient and smaller. Both things will save money. One up front, when you buy an 80,000 BTU furnace instead of a 100,000 BTU furnace, it doesn't cost as much. And then in the process of heating your home throughout the winters, you won't be paying as much because it won't have to work as hard to manage that heating load. So it's really about this whole house thinking, tying together the building envelope, which is the coat the house wears to keep the weather out, our insulation, our windows, which usually come in sort of even after heating and cooling in terms of priorities.
I was going to ask you about that, Richard, because
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many people in my experience, you and I have both been working in this green space for a long time. People think, oh, I'm going to make my house more energy efficient. I'm going to get new windows. And there are
sure.
so many options and bells and whistles you can invest in. And we we had the opportunity to get some new windows in my home when we had some windows broken in a hailstorm, and fortunately my husband knew how to install them, and we installed them within an inch of their life. They are insulated so well, but they're just basic windows. If
Sure.
that's a, if that's not something that the average person can do, how do you decode the marketing claims and also make sure that who you're getting the windows from is doing the degree of installation that will give you the insulation that you want?
Yes. Well, it's all interesting and important parts of the conversation. The reason why windows tend to be a little lower on a priority list is because they make up a significantly smaller portion of the building envelope in terms of overall square footage. And the ways they can be improved simply aren't particularly dramatic. In other words, if you take out an older window and you put in an Energy Star window, you've improved its performance. You've doubled its performance, but you've only increased it in real terms from an R value of 1 to an R value of 2 or 3. So they're not a big change there. Now, but when and if that is done, it is critically important, especially in older homes with old double hung windows and sash weights and whatnot, that the spaces that are part of that old building and window system be properly insulated and sealed.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you put in an Energy Star window and seal around it if the rest of that old window assembly hasn't had any attention. It's likely to still be a drafty and unperforming and uncomfortable part of the house. So good contractors that you vet well with, uh, uh, the Better Business Bureau, as well as various reviews, is a good place to start. Interviewing two or three at least, and having the wherewithal to specify and question the kind of installation you want when your new windows are installed, and the kinds of things you want to see happen is very important.
Your answer to that question, Richard, that very specific question, I think really illustrated the kind of thinking, the process of thinking that is important, whole house thinking, as your slide says,
Right?
looking at how the different parts of a house work together as a system. Did you cover everything in this slide? Can we go back to side by side on the screen, or is there anything else you wanted
Oh,
to?
I think we can do side by side now.
Okie dokie. So Richard Reilly, you're talking about stuff here that a lot, it makes sense to hire a contractor, hire a professional to do, for example, having a professional energy audit. But there are so many things that a person can do themselves without a huge amount of skill in the building trades, like someone like yourself has, that can really make a difference in comfort and health and savings. Say a little bit about that DIY spectrum.
Well, there are, of course, numerous things one can do. The first things that come to mind might be in improving and installing weather stripping and door thresholds. So basically, if you're looking around the door and you see some daylight, then you know your weather stripping isn't functioning properly. There are some fairly simple to install, sort of like you push in place and you tack in some nails, kinds of weather stripping that do a pretty good job. And same thing with thresholds and door sweeps. These things can be helpful in minimizing drafts. There are little sort of like stoppers and flanges you can put behind electrical outlets and switches that are on exterior walls, if need be. You can do similar things with covering windows from the inside with plastic during the heating season. You don't need a professional to change your furnace filter. And, same thing with caulking and painting and sealing, say around windows and door trim inside and out. They can help minimize drafts. I think a lot of this other stuff can be done. You can look at a YouTube video and figure out how to. Some of the home supply stores have little classes and things as well. But I think you should know your level of sort of risk tolerance and the willing, how far you're willing to go. And you might not have too much to be scared of, but you don't want to make so many changes to your house that you're changing the way that it functions. So one of the best things about a home performance with energy start project is that you're tested up front, and then after improvements are made, you're retested to make sure everything in the house is still functioning safely, to make sure there's still enough ventilation. So, while it's unlikely, it still may be possible for someone to overdo it without even knowing it. And that's where energy auditor doing pre-test and post-test can ensure safety of work done.
When I had an energy audit done on my house, the energy auditor was kind enough to take a dead squirrel out of my attic, but that probably was a real value add.
I think so.
and these are some kinds of things that renters can do as well, especially if you're paying your own electric bill or you're paying your own gas bill, and things you can leave in place for the next tenant to make it a more beneficial environment. Richard, what are resources, before we run out of time here, resources from the Earthway Center, from Home Performance with Energy Star, that people can potentially use to tap in to learn more and engage with this whole building science? I love that phrase.
Yeah. Well, certainly at the Missouri Botanical Gardens website, if you navigate to Earth Waste Center and Sustainable Living at Home, you'll come in contact with all kinds of things, including rebates from our utilities like Spire, which helps fund the work I do on behalf of the Home Performance with Energy Star program, helps pay for our booth space at home shows and things like that. Well, they have on-bill financing and really good rebates for water heaters and furnaces. So taking advantage of rebates, looking at our website, energystar.gov is a great place to start with all kinds of well-researched and well-vetted information about home performance at home, an apartment, or pretty much any other place as well.
Home performance, not just tap dancing anymore.
Not at all.
Richard Reilly, Energy Programs Manager from the Earthway Center. Thanks for talking to us today about home performance with Energy Star. Hopefully the next time we see you, you will be there in front of the wall that literally demonstrates these kinds of things with air blowing and little dollar bills and things like that.
All right. Thank you so much. I look forward to it.
Energy efficiency, a cornerstone of green living, whether you are a renter or a homeowner or a roommate or a long-term guest or whatever. There are benefits to be realized in understanding and improving energy efficiency, benefits to health and comfort and your bills. I'm Jean Ponzi from the Earthway Center. Tuesday, June 9th, is Energy Day during the 3 days of our Green Living Festival. We have resources from Saturday, June 6th, Green Living Day, and a wealth of resources on Naturescaping Day, Thursday, June 11th. All of them aggregated for your leisurely viewing pleasure at mobot.org/greenlivingfest. We hope you will join us for a number of activities and offerings from the Green Living Festival. We thank you very much for the green things that you do, and big thanks to our presenting sponsor, Ameren, Missouri, making it possible for the staff and volunteers of the Earthway Center at Missouri Botanical Garden to gather together and showcase these many resources for green living for you. I'm Jean Ponzi from the Earthways team. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for living a little greener.